Hi everyone, it's Pastor Sarah here with my blog Faith at Home, Not Alone. And I've got Marlo here, he's just chilling out behind me. But I don't want to talk about chilling out this month. I want to talk about how do we celebrate Easter? How do we make it a whole season to celebrate? So let's talk more about that this episode. So this is the month that we celebrate spring and all that spring brings. I know today is kind of a dreary, rainy day, but I know that it's going to be producing some wonderful results later in the season as I see the leaves coming on the trees and my plants starting to grow, and especially the flowers. I love all the flowers. It's also the season for Easter, and this I was reminded actually just recently that Easter really is the climax of our celebration for as Christians. And this is the season that we're focusing not only on the death of Jesus, but also on his resurrection. And this is the foundation for our hope. This is why we believe in Jesus, that he is God, that we have hope with him. So are we making this the biggest celebration in our homes? Are we making it a big deal and not just about maybe candy and Easter hunts and things like that? Do our kids know that this is a super exciting and meaningful time for us as followers of Jesus? And sometimes the cultural aspects of Easter can take over. Our children see the candy and toys that are being advertised. We have friends who are talking about those kind of things. And they're not bad things, but are we putting it all into perspective? Are there ways that we're reflecting on the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus so that our children really know who Jesus is, that they know the story, and that they can get excited about it as well? And I was thinking of different ways that we can do this as parents. I think we have a lot of opportunities to use examples from real life that can help us out. So this year, as I mentioned, Easter is a week after spring starts. And the change of seasons from winter to spring can make us notice what's happening around us. We can take notice of it. Do we notice the signs that a new season is about to arrive? What do we see? What do we hear? What do we smell? What could be going on that we don't see? And thinking of the new life that's starting to grow underground. Is spring just something that we wish for? Or can we really put our hope in spring happening? Is that something that we can be sure of? And that also translates to our faith. So Jesus would teach his disciples to notice the way that God was working. And he told them about his own death and resurrection ahead of time, even though they couldn't quite understand it until after he had already risen from the dead. But as we read the story of Jesus' life, what things can we notice? Are there things that maybe that Jesus did? Are there things that he said that gave his disciples and gave us as followers of Jesus real hope that he is God? So one thing you might want to consider doing this month is reading through one of the gospel stories. There's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Mark is the shortest one, about 16 chapters. You can use a child-friendly version like the New Living Translation or New International Reader's Version, NIRV. Or maybe you have a favorite children's Bible that you want to read the stories from. And as you read it together, what are the ways that we can discover that Jesus is God? What are some of the things that we can find out that we can hope for, that we can look ahead to, that can really help us know why this is such an exciting thing to know that Jesus is God, that he died for us, and that he rose again. This idea of resurrection, well, it can be a difficult concept for children, and let's face it, for us as adults too. And Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians 15, 36 to 38. When you put a seed into the ground, it doesn't grow into a plant unless it dies first. And what you put in the ground is not the plant that will grow, but only a bare seed of wheat or whatever you are planting. Then God gives it the new body He wants it to have. A different plant grows from each kind of seed. So we could take this passage and actually make it a real example at home by taking some different seeds. You can get a variety of seeds and plant them together in small pots, or maybe some clear cups where we can start to see the roots and things growing. I know some seeds you can also start by putting them between pieces of paper towel in a plastic bag, and then you can really see, and you also want a little bit of water on the paper towel, but then you can really see the roots starting to grow. And then talk about what happens to a seed. Well, when the seed falls off of the tree, it's cut off from their parent plant, the parent plant, and they essentially die unless something happens to change that. If the seed's put in the right conditions with the soil or the water, the sunshine, then it will become something new. Not at all what it was before. And when we think of what a seed looks like, well, it's not going to end up looking like a seed. It's going to look like a plant. And when we choose to follow Jesus, His new life is now in us, and we become who God intended us to be. We still need to grow like the seed does, with proper nutrition. And we can talk about growing in our relationship with Jesus and what it means to learn to love God and to love others. Jesus was the first seed to die and come to life, and now we can experience that new life in us as well. So there's many creative things that we can do to teach the story of Jesus and why we celebrate Easter. We can make it memorable. We can make it interactive. And I'll put a few links in the description where you can go and find some alternative hunts. You might want to do, if your family does the traditional kind of Easter egg hunt, you can certainly do that, but there's also some other things that you might want to try doing that can also be fun. There's also the popular resurrection eggs, and there's going to be a link for a DIY kit there that you can do. And again, these are just ways that we're trying to create rhythms in our homes where we're talking about our faith, where we're talking about the story of God, the story of Jesus. And as we do that, we're going to have those times, those moments where we get into those deeper questions, where we have the reflections. And really, as parents, we're also on this journey of growing in our faith with our children. So we want to make Easter a big celebration. I mean, let's make it a really big celebration in our homes. And we can do all the other fun stuff, but let's just make sure we're connecting the celebration with who we're celebrating. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. If there's some traditions or things that you do to celebrate Easter as a family, I'd love to hear those. You can put those in the comments, or even email me, sarah@onthejourney.ca. And remember, we're practicing faith at home, but we're not alone. God has placed us in community together. Let's consider how we're going to celebrate Easter with our community this season as well.